Hello everyone and welcome to the stream. We are going to do the post show right now for the Snowocalypse week 4. The mid-season break as it is in my head. Because I think we reached a sort of nice narrative build today. Oh, well, not sorry, today in the last session. And things got just a little bit crazy. Yeah. A lot of big things have happened. A lot of new characters have stepped out and revealed themselves, or stepped down or gotten shotgunned by a lady named Ella and her pet shotgun Betsy. Yeah, that's all very exciting stuff. Again, as I always have to say at the beginning of these streams, this is my post show, my GM side, my schemes and plots and such, for the Apocalypse World campaign, the Snowocalypse. If you have not caught up on the Snowocalypse up till now, and you would like to have a clue what I'm talking about, you should probably go down into the panels below, find my YouTube channel, and catch up. Because this is Spoiler City. I will talk about everything that happened in the session, and things that will happen at the beginning of the next session, and things that will maybe come true in 5 sessions' time. So yes. This is the home of spoilers. Also, week 4 was a goodie. You should watch it. But without any further ado, let's get into it. So yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, pause this video, go watch the other videos, then come back. Okay. So in the last session, we had a small revolution. Where we wandered around and, well, let's put it, so first of all, the airflow issue was solved, first of all, by Lux bombing the crap out of an elevator with some grenade launchers till she cleared a runway, which totally won't cause any issues. Then she led a smaller army down onto the floor where Cecil's compound was to watch some of them get their medullas snapped, if you've watched Mad Max, or basically sniped. Which was quite amusing and interesting. Why have I not got a name written down for that guy? I swear to God he had a name. This is irritating. But yes, so they died, and then Lux had to negotiate with Ella, the leader of the private security of for Cecil, to try and secure a non-genocidal bit of war. Which would have kind of sucked, because, you know, if they wipe out the entire population of Cecil Road, that's like, what, a sixth of the people like, in the known world for these people just gone? Like, this is the thing of killing 500 people in this game is like huge population decimating size violence. Like, you are really cutting into the rest of the human race. Then we had Stein was trying to kind of lead the people, a role that he is very much not suited for. And then he, while doing that, wandered over to try and find the secret passage that the Black Ops team were using to infiltrate Cecil's compound, and in doing so bumped into the Black Miasma Psychic, who we now know is a young lady named Rachel, who proceeded to fuck him up in the body of Preed. Absolutely wrecked him. And yeah, really got inside his brain. Quite literally, in fact. She now has a psychic bridge into Stein's brain, which she wanted because she saw that Stein was a powerful psychic in his own right. And finally, the Black Ops team of Tudor, Midnight, and a few of the members of the court, and also East Harrow, worked their way up to Cecil's compound, recruited Rourke in the hallway, who murdered 2 people to impress Midnight. He's a simple man of simple pleasures. Then broke into Cecil's house. Midnight killed the butler because she didn't like him very much, at which point Ella burst out of the room and started blasting faces off quite effectively. That lady is scary with a shotgun, it turns out. but they eventually, and then we found, as they were losing that fight, Parcher arrived, kind of calmed things down. Quite a few people died on both sides. Well, not that many people actually. I think on the side of the court, we lost twice the leader of the kind of excavating business, and what's her face? Margaret took a nasty punch to the side of the head, and Rourke has been riddled with bullets, but is still currently alive. Also, Midnight took a fair few shots, I believe. Actually, let's pull up. Let's see how injured our players are, just quickly. Lux is fine. Midnight is at 9 harm. This will be very relevant shortly. Stein is at 3 harm. That's okay with him. And Tudor's also at 9 harm. Okay, this could be fun. I'll tell you why in a moment. Yes, they got very roughed up. Midnight tried to escape and ran straight into the hands of Parcher's men and got grabbed. A tense hostage situation ensued, but Tudor managed to kind of talk the talk. Cecil re-enabled transport around the building and all this sort of stuff. And everything kind of chilled. Because it's a Snowocalypse. But, alas, this is the apocalypse world, and nothing here ever really goes nicely. Or works out well. So, let's discuss all of the problems that the new King Tudor is going to face. The first one being the fact that he's grievously wounded. Now, in the rules of the game, so if I again pull up Tudor's character sheet here, we can see that he has these 3 harm boxes checked. He's at 9 harm. By the rules of the game, harm does not heal. Harm does not heal unless you get medical attention once you're at that stage. It doesn't heal by itself. In fact, it can actually progressively get worse. Same for Midnight. Same for Rourke. And they have no medical supplies. Not just no medical supplies, but the Dr. Preed has apparently had his mind shriveled by a crazy psychic ghost lady who's been floating around. So they have no doctor and no medical supplies. And 2 of their senior, like, high-up guys are kind of dying. Slowly. And it's all going a little bit horrible. Which is great, because that's what we love this game, when everyone's a little bit screwed. So, let's go to our fronts, shall we? We shall. Cecil Road. Okay. So, we can actually delete quite a few things here. This, slight move. Whoop. Gone. Cecil is a non-issue anymore, at least not in that kind of front. Cecil's still around. He's a prisoner at the moment. But he ain't got the power to do all the things he wanted to do. Cecil's compound, also no longer an issue. Currently, it's occupied. But we have new things. New things to add to this list. So, let me get myself a thingamabob. So first of all, we have no country for wounded men. I love thinking of silly names for all these. Oh my god. Chat, you guys. Can't deal with you people. So, no country for wounded men. The kind that this is? Let's have a look. I don't actually know what to put this as. I guess this is an affliction almost. Is it? Yeah, it must be an affliction. Yeah, it's an affliction, a condition, and its impulse is to expose people to danger? I suppose. Because the danger is no one can get fixed. And there's going to be a lot of people who need fixing. Because, for instance, we've just lost... In the town's lost a massive chunk of its infrastructure. In, like, one of its major service elevators is just gone. Smashed at the bottom of the ground. And with that, like, the production of this town has been halved. Parch is going to be being a right tool because he's now the Kingmaker. Lots of things need to be repaired. The two guys who lead like the major workforce, Twice and Greg, both dead. And we'll get to. I have another idea for the terrible, awful things that are going to be happening as a result of that shortly. So we have this, and no one's being fixed, so every injury that happens, every workplace incident, have you been injured in the workplace? Maybe you too could claim competence. Wait, no, you'll just be thrown out in the snow. No one's getting back up again. Yeah, so the impulse. No healing. Oh, okay. It's society kind of gets sick, I guess. Like, you get a cough, it just doesn't go away now. So the description cast, I guess, is Preed. Because he's the only person who could feasibly fix this. And he's crazy. Everybody is dangerous? No, everyone's in danger is more accurate. There's no real custom move here, but so we have no medical supplies. We have no doctor. So they can't even do anything with just like... They've got no fancy drugs. They've got no doctor who could like maybe make some bandages. Like, you can make bandages, alright, and do basic care. It's just... yeah. And then finally, I guess this is the one... The last tick of where this gets really bad is... These are player-facing fronts, so a PC goes past 9 harm. Now, that's a mechanical term, but basically, at 9 harm, you're in a bad way. Once you hit 10 harm, or beyond, you get worse. You are unstable, you are slowly dying, or rapidly dying, depending on how far you are past it. So, Tudor and Midnight are not healing, they're stuck at 9, and if they take any more damage of any description, they're just gonna start crumbling. That's where things can go really wrong. So past that, we have... I'm just gonna do, I'm gonna use those two as kind of benchmarks for the rest of the population. Large scale pop deaths. Don't know what that'll be from disease or general badness. But basically we'll use that, so if one of those two goes over, we're going to assume that by that point, that means that the NPCs of the town are in a similar place. And as such are dying and dropping off the face of the earth. So that's going to be our ticker. If a player character dies, they may just have to sit there a little quietly for a while. We will roll them up a new character to play for the end of the campaign. Just they're going to be behind because their character will have no advances or anything like that. Yes. Cool. So, we have that. The next thing we have... riots. So, if you've ever studied history, you'll know that revolutions often don't end at the first revolution. They kind of keep going. And this one isn't going to be a historical exception. So, the town has just gone through major upheaval. Because everyone nearly died. A good few major community leaders have died. All in the name of a guy who's pronouncing himself King of Britain. And then we've got that, and then, yeah, we've got a lot of people who aren't his followers left in the populace who are like, why did a bunch of people have to die, and why is our city now really screwed up? And it seems to be, like, 3 specific people's faults. So, yeah. there's going to be some unrest. And you know who's going to be leading that unrest? Because I do. Is going to be Greg's husband, Craig. Because he doesn't follow Tudor. He kind of tolerated his husband's cultish ways and is now watching everything go horribly, horribly wrong. The King of Britain. So, for context for chat members who haven't heard this before, the character Tudor, played by Joe, is trying to revive the British monarchy post-apocalypse. Greg's husband, Craig. I love these games. How can I just drop crappy names like Greg and Craig and crap like that? It's amazing. So, mob, obviously. These guys are basically the lower class. And their impulse is to riot. Because we need to put pressure on... Hey. Sorry. The name Craig isn't crap, it's just the fact that it just doesn't necessarily fit in with people like Tudor and Midnight and Lux and then Greg and Craig. It just makes me chuckle. So, yes, in here we have kind of all of our normal citizens. We have Craig, we have that guy Isaac we met last time. Possibly Ella and Deputy, kind of all rolled into this one. Because any violent people that can get caught up in it almost certainly will. Yes. Who was Adam? Oh. So these guys in the description cast. So, we'll call the first tick of this Uprising 1. Which we've already had. And then after that... So, what's going to be the next thing that's going to piss these people off? Something's going to break. Something big is going to break. Because I think this one's going to link into some other things. I think what will happen here is... let's do food processing machines break. Probably not all of them, but some of them will break down in like the next session, maybe. So those are going to break down, and everyone's going to get hungry, and people don't like being hungry. It's a general fact, if I know my history. And then the big thing that's going to cause everything to go horribly wrong is the first person will die. Be it a kid or someone starves to death as a result of this. And basically everything will be like, under Cecil, things were okay. He was a bit of a douche, but at the same time he was a douche who fed us and kept the place warm and didn't turn the air off. And then this crazy cultist guy arrives, proclaims himself King of Britain, whatever the hell that is, because these people don't understand what Britain is anymore. It's the same as hearing about Mesopotamia, or imagining that it's like getting told, yeah, you used to live in a place, you live in a place that used to be Atlantis. It's like, okay, but who cares? It's not anymore. And this cultist comes up and causes all these problems, gets a bunch of people killed, takes over, and then is screwing it up. And then everything's going to go wrong. Cecil isn't dead, but he's no longer in charge. Chat. So, we'll see what happens with him. So yes, the first person's going to die as a result of starvation. And then after that, I mean, the 12 here is Tudor and the PCs are removed. Because this is where it builds up to. Actually. Tudor and the court. Because Stein actually isn't really a member of this. He just works and does his best. So no one's really mad at Stein. But the others might be in trouble. Because they're all part of his big power structure. I think it's going to go very similarly, like lower floors. So Tudor's agents removed from lower floors. Don't know exactly how that would be accomplished, but I imagine not pleasantly. Let's move that there. Let's move this here. So it's going to be very similar to the other. They're just going to sort of work their way up. Yeah, and then I guess 10 is assault the compound. There's not enough space. There. So this is our ticking. So this will happen probably in the beginning of the next session. I'm going to do like a good few jump cuts throughout which we're going to see everyone's lives going horribly. We'll see like an incredibly sleep-deprived Stein having to run around fixing everything and not having time to deal with some stuff. Like the elevators and horrific breakages across like massive amounts of mechanical failure that there just aren't. And he has to organize like the two massive teams of people who can actually physically give the manpower to deal with this stuff, but who don't have any leaders and now rely on him to do it. So I might give him some manipulate roles to try and do that, but he's not a leader. He's now quite convincing on a one-to-one basis, but he's not a leader. Okay. Get a couple stakes questions quickly while I remember. So, what will wake up Preed? Okay. Ooh, we kind of know that. So that who was Rachel? Why does yeah. So we know the miasma psychic's name. We know who she is. This is irrelevant. This is still relevant, and also Tudor still doesn't have access to it because it's still controlled by Cecil's handprint. I've got a hand being raised in the chat. Yes. Sue, talk to me, dear. I'll wake up Preed. Oh, I guess that's not what will fix Preed. Okay. Do we have any stakes questions about this one? Are there any other doctors? So are there any other doctors out there? If they can't wake up Preed and they still need a medical professional, can they get another one? Can one of the PCs take an advancement to get an angel in town? Or do they have to go raid another town out there to steal their doctor? These are the kind of tough decisions that the new leadership is going to have to make. Otherwise, bad things. Okay. These are still on track. Oh, I don't want to do that. Give me that. Give it. In the butt. Yeah. My psyche still wants this. She still wants this. Yeah. So we now know her name. She is Rachel. These still are all counting. This one, still in the thing. I think we're gonna bring in bring the dad in. Whose name? Ah, yes, Nylock. Lux's dad, Nylock, I think is gonna have to return sometime soon. Having heard there's been a giant revolution, you might want to come check that his daughter's still alive. So I think he's gonna come along and return to Cecil Road for a while, and I think this is when things are going to start getting a bit heavy, because I don't think he's going to be a huge fan of Tudor's weird hand-wavy nonsense. Okay. Departure. So these all happened. Well, these first two happened. Those first two happened. This one hasn't yet, but we do have to put in a stakes question. Why can Archer use the handprint scanner? We saw in the last session there was the secret door built into the wall, a little handprint scanner that no one else could use, and Parcher walks up and goes beep, zoop, and it works for him. And the only other person it works for is Cecil. So why is Parcher's handprint as good as Cecil's handprint? Are they related? Is his built in there? Who knows? But we probably should find out. Or at least the PCs probably should. Because bad juju. This little old Del Boy clone might be a bit more dangerous than we first thought. We also have Adam. Parcher's heavy. Thank you, Dylan. Love you too. Oh, we know this isn't true. Okay. Right. So I think we can get rid of this one. So he wants to still gain access to the control panel, because this thing still has functions that we don't know yet. And I think that a bunch of those functions might be why Tudor can't run the town effectively. Like, I'm not entirely sure what it does yet. Let's go back to this one. What can't Tudor do without access to the panel? Because there's a big fancy panel that can turn on and off the air supply. It can, like, control the lifts. It can probably lock down the compound, turn on the lights on and off. Like, it controls life in this underground town they've got. And the current mayor can't use it. Unless he lets, like, someone come in and fiddle with it. And I'm trying to sow the seeds of distrust between Tudor and Stein at the moment, and Stein would be the only person who could make it work. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. I think that might be why things start breaking. Maybe that's why things start breaking, is because Cecil doesn't check in. Maybe he's that much of a dick that he built a system into it that if he isn't there regularly enough, everything starts going wrong. That might be interesting. Well, I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, so why can Parcher use the handprint scanner? Okay, let's leave that one there for now. And next we have Ella and her crew. So if you remember from the last session, we met Ella. Ella being this sort of Pakistani descent lady with a shotgun called Betsy, who's a badass. Because of the way the players rolled, she just utterly destroyed fools. And she's not leaving. Like, they're not gonna, like, shove off all their military people. So let's have a look at a kind. I guess she's probably actually a warlord. Is she? she a warlord or is she a brute? I'm not quite sure. I think she's probably kind of fits in the brute section. And I think nowadays they're a family. Like, I think when you hire Ella, like, if she was a player character, she'd be a chopper, which is basically a motorcycle gang leader. So her and her men, basically want to be paid. Ranks protect their own. So we've got Ella. Does anyone remember the name of the sniper guy? I think it was David? Why do I not make more notes of these guys? Why do I not make more notes in session? So annoying. Yeah, we've got those. To some extent, we have Rourke. Like, she's actually a member of his group. Okay. So these are the guys. The dudes, the peoples. So they are kind of a we get paid to do a job people. They're loyal, and but they're a mercenary group. And now the town has a new mayor. Things have transitioned. They are now like in the employ of Tudor, but very crucially, they're employees, not mindless followers. So they want paying. So Ella doesn't get paid. That's gonna be tick 1. And I think I'm gonna force Tudor to make a very, very black and white decision on kind of he can either like basically buy food and stuff, like extra food supplies from surrounding areas when the food processing breaks down. To keep his people fed, or he can afford to pay Ella and her men. Important. And so he's going to have to choose between security or food. And basically, that's a bad place to be. That's a really bad place to be. So I think when that happens, the crew, so Ella's men begin taking what's theirs. I think that's the next step. Because, I mean, Ella is... I don't think I would necessarily describe Ella as a bad person. But she is very much not interested in saving the world. She has her men, and those are the people she cares about. And you pay her, or you're in her way. And I think that's basically her outlook in life. Like, shut up. Give me what I... Like, I do a job, you pay me. And if you don't pay her, then you betrayed her, and then she's gonna fuck you up. So yeah, I think that's this bit. Can I just tab that over? Ella is kind of a badass. I fucking like Ella. She's quite cool to play. She described herself as a weapon. You point her in the direction, you pull the trigger, she gets shit done. Okay. Ella's men. Empty the armory and leave. That's going to be 9. Basically, if they don't get paid, they're gonna take payment, then they're gonna take the guns, and then they're gonna leave. Because they're not really interested in vengeance. It's like, okay, it's a business transaction. But the thing is that they're going to take everything they brought with them, and they're going to get paid. And then they're going to fuck off. And that is really, really bad. Because then the town is left defenseless. And they're just going to wander to the next people rich enough to hire this private army, which will only be another town, and go, yo, how's it going? By the way, did you know another town is completely vulnerable? Pay us a shit ton of money and we'll just go get you Cecil Road, the biggest town in the area. Join another, hold, return as raiders. Because here's the thing of Judo essentially has to decide between whether or not he wants to keep his people fed, or whether or not he wants to keep the security force, who potentially can go raid the other people for the food. Like, he could take the dangerous route, pay his security force, send them to raid other towns for medical supplies, food, and doctors. If they succeed, he gets everything. If they fail, he loses his people, he leaves himself more defenseless, and he opens himself up to vengeance. And I'm very much going to tell Tudor that these are options. I need a few other towns, actually. A few other surrounding towns. Hopefully, I will try and draw a map up. But if you have any ideas for good town names, Twitch chat, type in the chat. If you're watching this on the YouTubes, put it in the comment section below. Or go to that Reddit thread that I always make where no one ever asks me questions, and I always get really sad. Because I wish you'd ask me questions. Because I like talking about these kinds of games. Yeah, Reddit, place to talk to me about this stuff. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun stuff. Okay. And I think Shooter's gonna have to put medical stuff at the top of his priority list when him and the only person in the world he trusts and is friends with are just above death's door. They're both at 9 harm, him and Midnight. That's a bad place to be. A bad place to be. Okay. Well, Sue, if you don't know what's going on, watch the YouTube videos, and then if you have questions after that, ask me them. Because, yeah. That's why I like... I don't mind if the questions aren't particularly fancy. Like, you don't have to ask, so what is the deeper philosophical meaning of this? No. Just say, like, so why is such and such doing this? Or, why did this happen again? Because I love it. It helps me set my thinking process straight as well. Having to kind of constantly justify my reasonings for things means I better understand the characters. And if I better understand the characters, I make cooler stuff. Right. So, do we have other questions? Okay. So why can parts use a handprint scanner? Handprint scanner? What the fuck? There's a thing I think might happen. Will Ella try to recruit a PC? You know, I know she will. Ella's gonna try and recruit Midnight because she's seen Midnight fight. She knows Midnight is capable. Just not she's not yet effective, but she could be with training. And I think Ella may be relatively, like, she's a nice person in some respects of, like, she wants to care for people, but she's aware that she can only care for so many people. So she is very selective about people she wants to, like, take under her wing. Because the thing, if you can't look after herself, she can't look after you all the time. So I think she wants to take on more people, and like people like Midnight are useful. They can lead. Midnight is like a prime person to succeed Ella, because Midnight is charismatic, she's physically capable, and she's like pretty cool. As opposed to Tudor, who's a fucking whacknut. literally in his moveset is described as a fucking whacknut. And Stein, not on her radar. And Lux, I don't know, I guess you also might take a shine to Lux. But yeah, I think there's going to be some scenes with those two, maybe three people. We'll see. But yes, cool. I also really want to get some fronts where I set people like Tudor and Stein against each other. Also, here's the thing I want to include. I think that Rachel, our dear miasma psychic lady, has a little bit of a crush. I think it's on Stein. I think Stein is the only person who's actually seen her in years. Like, beyond just violent nightmares and such. I think Stein is the first person who's, like, spoken to her as a person in a long-ass time. And so I don't think it's necessarily a crush, but it's going to be the thing of she wants to talk to people. There is no one on this planet who, when having spent, like, 10 years floating in a kind of maelstrom, is like, I don't need people. You want someone to talk to share something. I think she's going to reach out to Stein. Probably will involve a lot of weird, violent psychic dreams and maelstrom time spent with Jamie, which is gonna be fun. Because that's gonna mean that Stein has no chance to sleep because he's busy working all the time. When he finally gets to close his eyes, he gets tormented by a crazy psychic lady. Is Rachel in Stein's head? She has formed a bridge into his mind, yes. What she's gonna do with that bridge, we don't yet know. But I'm excited. Okay. So, Wintermute. This will happen in the next session. Minor cosmetic changes for Lux. I'm tempted to actually do it. It's because the wolf was being turned more human by this virus. Ooh, very, very high. I think it's gonna be. It's not gonna be straight up like lycanthropy, yeah. Maybe if you've ever read The Strain, something more along those lines of like adjusting internal body temperature and insulation. So perhaps like thickening skin, higher run temp for for the person's body. Some mutations, optimizing like retaining of like heat and nutrients, diet alterations, more red meat, that kind of thing. I'm very much stealing this from The Strain, which is a great horror book by Guillermo del Toro and another guy. You should try to go read it. There's also a TV show. Don't know how good that is. But yeah, so that's gonna be fun. We definitely need to start getting into this. And then yeah, there are Wintermute guys here, and here's a stakes question for you. Wintermutes help in exchange for medical supplies and expertise. No, sorry. Will it accept Wintermute in exchange for medical supplies? Because they're a bunch of scientists who experiment on people and stuff like that. So they have medical supplies, and they have people who are very highly trained medical people, like, somehow, but want to do this stuff, where they... This, I know how this is going to work. Reverse augury is basically they need to harvest the brain of some very, very powerful psychic, of which we have 3 options. Stein, Tudor, Rachel. Using machinery that probably only Stein can build, because I think it would involve taking apart his augury thing in his workspace. So they want Stein as like a partner, They then want to harvest a psychic, of which Stein will know what it does, so there are only really two feasible options, Tudor or Rachel. And then also this physical perfection thing, which involves experimentation. If you've ever watched Age of S.H.I.E.L.D., the guy, I can't remember, it's Dr. Whitehall. Discovery requires experimentation. This guy. Well, Dr. Tessia is a little bit genderless in some ways, I think. Has gone beyond such petty human concepts. Yeah. I think both him and actually he's probably still got this. When you meet Dr. Tessia, roll plus weird. 10 plus. Nothing happens. 7 to 9. It's a good show. It's a good show. After the first, 8 episodes of season 1. 7 to 9. I answer one question from the Things Speak list. MC's choice. I think this may give you an insight into what Dr. Tessia thinks of normal people. When he can use basically Things Speak on you as a move. 6. So fail. Act under fire to not do what he wants. There. I think Dr. Tessia has that kind of same thing as Stein and Tudor, of he's really persuasive. Really persuasive. He gets in you. He crawls inside your brain with his weirdness, and he manipulates you. He's got the charisma of a dictator, and a horrific one at that. You can't help but kind of get infected with his passion, and infected is very much the word for this guy. I've also thought of what these ones are. So this is then conversion of the worthy. Again, this guy basically a Nazi eugenicist. He's bad news. Conversion of the worthy. Capture of Cecil Road. That's the next part, because, yep, he needs a base camp, and he needs fortified place. And then genocide. I think Dr. Tessia currently looks, I think because he's already been experimenting on himself. Well, I think maybe started out as himself, now is themself. I think they possibly communicate telepathically. Don't speak. Have long since lost the need for vocal cords. Probably not, core temperature again runs hot. Has already managed to just about optimize ways of walking around outside without excessive protective gear. But at the same time, is hairless, almost completely. Skin looks really strange. Same time, yeah, long lab white coat, dresses like kind of a creepy scientist. Completely ageless almost. You physically can't tell how old this guy is. Possibly even Voldemort knows, kind of thing. Yeah. Dr. Tessia. Gonna be 7 kinds of fucked up. Okay. Yeah. And this is Tudor's other way out. No, so Dr. Tessia is not multiple people in one body. They are without gender. So they have no sexual organs, primary or secondary, anymore. Because they're just they want to go beyond humanity and the messiness of it. And included within that is stuff like this. Yeah. Now, this is not me trying to throw shade upon people who do not conform to the gender binary. This is him. Yeah. Discarding such human things as the idea of gender. Okay. Home front. We still don't have a plan for these mysterious people who not fucking about with the plants. Yeah. Well, we can get rid of you from here. You definitely don't belong here anymore. You do not belong here anymore. I should have Reimer in here. Reimer definitely belongs in here. Who else belongs in here? Guy with a crush. I think that might be right. What is this last one? This is... Oh, yes, this is my outside. So let's do other towns. Briefly. Actually, I don't want to do that yet. I don't want to touch that yet. I've got some ideas floating around my head of, like, there are other towns, and they don't necessarily trust the new king. So... But I don't know exactly what I want to do with that yet. So I'll leave it for now. Okay. I think we're good. Oh, just update this. Rachel, the miasma psychic. Oh, and Harpus, Lux's uncle. Nylock, McCrae. Lux's dad. I didn't name these NPCs, by the way. That's all Johnny. Who knows? I think they know shit's going down. Like, messages will start to get out. Now that we're gonna presume other people send missives out because trade is required with everything going to shit. Yeah. It's gonna all be very interesting. There's going to be lots of chaos, lots of unrest, lots of people blaming Tudor for everything that's going wrong, lots of Tudor searching for... And he's going to have to kind of make a lot of moves simultaneously and very quickly he's got to decide who he's going to side with and how he's going to fix things. Who is the best chance... Who is giving him the best chance of finding things? Does he side with... Does he accept Wintermute's conditions? Because they're going to come with conditions. It's like, oh, you want medical supplies? Well... We want, here's a list of, like, technology. We want your mechanic to work for us. And also we want specimens. Like, is Tudor okay with trading people? If not, what is he going to do? Because then he still has no medical supplies. The place the medical supplies come from is the frozen city of London. In a giant eternal snowstorm. We got here. Eternal blizzard. I think also... Ooh, we do have this, actually. East Harrow is a thing. East Harrow is a ghost, much like Rachel. Because of... He died. And he's still got that weird augury thing surrounding him, preventing him from moving to the other side. And he's currently just in the psychic maelstrom, exposed to all that awfulness. Oh, yeah. Sorry. So yeah, he's still in there, exposed to all that awfulness, and going insane, utterly and completely insane. He's gonna come back and he's gonna go after Tudor because Tudor is the person who did this to him. Yeah. The Ice Witch, I think, is the one that is doing this. She's the one who caused the shortage of medical supplies because she basically is like picking off people from this town, this little border town that's raiding London, and there's such they aren't getting any drugs out because they haven't any people. I think actually we'll upgrade this one. Yeah. So I think we'll come back and we'll find that like the little town, like the little outpost that supplies Cecil Road with its medical supplies is just empty. Just no one there. No one's heard from them in like the week that Tudor's been in charge. That's gonna be difficult. And then the Ice Witch is gonna have to move, and she's gonna probably move towards psychic beacons, which is either the 3 powerful psychics located in Cecil Road, or whatever it is in Wintermute that like psychically summons people there. And finally, we got this place. And I think, yeah, sorry. The last one I want to do is the frozen city of... Actually, no. Britannia rules the snows. This is going to be a landscape. Because basically, I think that... I'm going to fuck a bit with Tudor here now. Again. This is kind of the place that our yeah, so I think this is a mirage. Impulse is to entice and betray. So we have Tudor, London. So power. So basically, Tudor is doing the work of this place by like I think he may have found the crown in the snowstorm, and its London is kind of basically like attempting to reassert itself, like the kind of the history of the place and the souls of like. Ooh, I just thought of a really cool. There's a series of books a while back that I read called Prince of Thorns. Never read them. And they have an idea of how there was like they have a similar sort of apocalypse thing, and the world gets kicked back to the medieval era, and people have this thing of magic is now possible that wasn't before. A necromancer thing, and one person's explanation for it is the reason that necromancy exists is because when people died, they were supposed to go through the doors of death. And on the day of 1,000 burning suns, nuclear holocaust, so many souls tried to cram through the doors of death in one go that they broke. And the back and forth between the end of like the other world and this one was like just an open season. So I think maybe similar to that, and it's like the souls of like people who knew, like London was a hugely populated place, and like there's so many dead people, and so many people who believe that it's such a great place, and like from all across history, which is why it's sort of jumbled in Tudor's head. If he's got images from Victorian times all the way through to modern times, and like this fierce patriotism, something that doesn't exist, is amplified through this crown, his own psychic talents. I think he's being used by this place to rebuild itself. This weird psychic will that isn't attached to anything. And he just did their first step. He made the first colony of New Britannia. Tudor is called to his coronation. We all know that his psychic place is basically Buckingham Palace. What we described in the first session. We saw him open his brain to Psychic Maelstrom. He's basically in Buckingham Palace. So I think the 9 here is that. He finds the real one. Is crowned. I think we're gonna have to come up with a like in the proper sense. We're gonna have to find a custom move for what happens on that moment, because it's gonna be heavy. But I don't think we're gonna have to worry about that for a little while. Well, so the Psychic Maelstrom we previously thought was basically, it's kind of like it's kind of the afterlife of its. If you consider the soul as a kind of energy, then as people die, this energy is, as happens in physics, it's not lost, it merely changes state. So, everyone's emotion that they experience in their life, their wants, their desires, their dreams, all of it gets converted into the maelstrom and flows together, and then when a person is born, that kind of whirling mess changes shape and becomes a soul. So basically the Psychic Maelstrom is raw soul. And Tudor, because he's so weird, is so in tune with this stuff that he's kind of like more... There's more of it in him than in most people. And that's why the Maelstrom, kind of London, can reach out and kind of like push into him. They can push its desire for colonization through him. I'll kind of have to talk to Joe a bit and see how willing he is to go along with this stuff. But I think it'd be really interesting. I don't like taking control out of the player's hands. But yes. Razors. I think these two are linked. I think the Blizzard is some form of protective thing around London, waiting for its true king to return. Oh, whoops, didn't mean to do that. And so maybe what this is the weapon of last resort. Loose the storm. Because this isn't Britannia as it once was. This is a Britannia dominated by the dead. It's the will of the dead, and they want to colonize. We think back to the British Empire, in its heyday, it wanted to colonize and take over the world. And the dead version wants the same thing. And how does a dead thing turn people into colonies and subjects? It kills them. So, the mind, the will of the old British Empire is driving Tudor to colonize the world by killing it. It's gonna be fun. And to possibly absorb it somehow. We'll see how this plays out. Tudor's got a lot of things on his mind, and he is a person. This stuff is speaking to him, but he believes... we've got this impulse, entice and betray. So Tudor doesn't know this yet. I think Tudor is the key to this part, loosing the storm. The Britannian will needs a living, breathing will to free the storm somehow, to free their final weapon. that's been generating to loose it upon the world, and they've chosen Tudor as their tool, but he needs power, he needs followers, he needs the ability to command this from the other side. And so they want to entice him into doing this, and then the betrayal is that he doesn't get to be king over the New Britannian Empire. He gets to be the last man alive. The lonely king on his frozen throne, as it were. Yeah. I think that's what I want to do. Cool. Tudor's crown, the ice goes away. I never know. We could get some really, like... Well, I've always thought of it if they ever went far south enough, they found the channel, that it's just going to be frozen. It's going to be a great flow of ice. So maybe someone who believes themselves to be the emperor of, or the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire crosses with his legions to fight the one true king of Britannia, or something equally insane. We'll get some crazy history battles going back and forth. If Tudor's crown, the ice doesn't go away, but it's guess there's a giant, like, eternal blizzard. So, like, the rest of the world is cold and snowy. There's this blizzard that has not stopped for the 250 years since the eruption. Like, it's just this howling storm that surrounds the entirety of London, and it's like a barrier to keep out the unworthy. And Tudor has been deemed worthy. But it's also it's building itself. It's a weapon to be used for this final, like, invasion of the rest of the world, as it were. And as it builds itself, they need Tudor to go in and be like, psychic this shit and send it off into the rest of the world. Like, the apocalypse got most of the people. Tudor is required to finish the job. That's why the first part of this move is the apocalypse. Yeah. Hey. People can lurk, Ingy. Don't worry about it. And Arasa came along. Yeah. No, that's cool. This has only been discussed in GM terms. So we haven't actually seen this place yet, but I'm going to try and start widening the scope. Now that a person's in charge of a town, we need to widen the scope to include the rest of the world. So yeah. Here's a stakes question for you. Does anyone else know about the will of Britannia and its plans? Because they're going to try and kill Tudor, if there is. Tudor's the only person who can basically kill the rest of the human race. He's kind of a big deal. But yes, that is where we should wrap this one up for now. So, once again, if you are new to all of this jazz, and you've liked the cut of my jib and the sound of this campaign, you should totally go to the YouTube channel in the panels below and check out the rest of the campaign so far, because it's awesome. Last week especially was a really, really good episode. If you are a regular to this stream, you should go to the Reddit thread posted in the chat now, or in the YouTube, the description below. And you should vote for stat highlights. Highlight all the stats because it's important and cool. If you have questions about anything I've talked about here, or the campaign, or anything like that, post them in that Reddit thread, because then I will be able to type out a thought-out and proper answer to you. I do try to read everything else, but I'm not perfect, whereas I use Reddit a lot. So yes. So yes, go vote for stats, highlight things. The mid-season break is coming to a close, and we will return to a new season premiere full of new problems and awful things. Once again, if you are new to the stream and you like this, please do hit that follow button. We do try to play once a week. This week, unfortunately, things went a little wrong, and we couldn't do a session just due to scheduling. But we will be back next week, I hope. Secondly, if you are watching this within the week it was made, this Saturday, so Saturday the 29th of August, 2015. I will be over, also Chip and Joe, two of the players in this campaign, will be over on the channel twitch.tv /Encounter Roleplay. That's Encounter Roleplay. 1 second, I've just lost my thing. Where I will be running a game for them from 9 PM to midnight. That is London time, so I think that's currently BST. Where we will be playing a game called Blades in the Dark, where my players shall be a crew of thieves leaping around a kind of Victorian-themed electro-punk world, and on a sea filled with demons where you harvest giant leviathan blood for electricity. If you've ever played Dishonored, the video game, the setting is very much inspired from that. So yeah, you should totally come check that out. After that game, from midnight to 4 AM, I will then be playing D&D 5e with them. I don't know who will be joining me on that, but you should totally come along for as long as you can. Check it out. It's going to be really good. They're doing like a 24-hour stream, as I say. They're starting at midday on Saturday, going to midday on Sunday. They're pretty funny guys. They sent people along here before. Go watch their shit. Watching Dishonored on YouTube does indeed count, so yes. But yeah, if you play Dishonored, that's very much the kind of idea of this setting. It's almost very heavily influenced, I would say. And it looks really cool. I've not actually played the game before, and I'm really, really excited to run it because it seems like a really awesome system. So yes. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I shall leave you. Ladies and gentlemen, and others. Y'all, in fact. There we go. Words. Trying to break that habit. Yeah. Do tune back into the next Snowocalypse. It will appear in my schedule as soon as I know how. Follow me on all the social media to find out when that will be. Thank you for coming.